Hello, Abigail.
Oh, that's all. So the Native American Student Association. Not the, yeah, we don't go to space. Maybe next year.
Woo! Yeah, it's pumping, right? Everyone, it's a Friday. I mean, this is great. This is what we want.
Friday.
I mean, the week has probably been a long week, right? Like, chill out. I would also say if you don't have a club guide and don't want to grab one off of the off the website, I did bring club guide, so please grab one. This will have all the information that you need to make sure that you're operating within your club. Right. So you know. And then you can just sign in as well, and then you feel free to grab.
Going well. How's it going? Good. Good to see you.
And we're gonna get started in just a few minutes once we get everybody else on. Hello, Maggie. Hello. Make sure you check in by scanning the QR code, and then please grab a club guide and drop it down some food. Vibe out with this amazing event that we're having, right? I mean, next time I guess I'll make sure to play some music or something, so just doesn't seem so like dead quiet like we're in the library. But it's those things that we learn as we go along. It's part of the process, right? Yeah. Moderation.
Control slides from this one.
Yep.
And you can also control slides.
No.
We control slides, but you
I
can
can
moderate online.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd hope that you control online and we can moderate our own slides.
Okay.
That's, yeah, is that good for you too?
Yep.
Yeah, we can stand like right here, you know, do. This on your time, we can work it. I just want to get you on online covered. It allows a little bit of flexibility with that. Hi, welcome in. Make sure you check in. I should also get some pizza. We got a lot of it.
Yeah, maybe I got too much pizza. I don't know. Maybe that was a problem. Music, too much food.
I'll make sure it's not a problem by the end.
That's what I'm talking about. 'Cause, yeah, we gotta get through all this pizza. That's the big thing.
I
So
mean, if you're gonna have a problem, too much food's not a bad one to have, yeah.
yeah, probably the best one to have.
You guys are in there.
So we're gonna you speaking right?
Control time. The picture is right.
Oh, that's close to the.
Tired. Yeah, I've been mixing me.
Hello, Brito. Hi, Brito.
Hey, here I am.
Hey, guys.
It wasn't as.
Hey, hello.
And also.
Welcome in. Which one of your clubs are you representing today? Hopefully, don't like and stuff.
Both of them, all of them?
Sounds good to me.
So yeah, I'm just gonna give a couple of minutes and then yeah, we're gonna get going. I think maybe just those last minute stragglers get nine, but yeah, a couple more minutes. But yeah, how is everyone feeling? All right, it's Friday, the weekend's here, we can just chill out. I mean, we have 16 weeks. I mean, we're hitting the halfway mark, so yeah, and if you have midterms, that's probably gonna be a pain, but I mean, you're halfway through the fall semester. I mean, that's an accomplishment within itself. So we all give ourselves a round of applause on that, right? Yeah, woo! Yeah. It's like looking at positive moments, right? And taking a chance to go for them, right? All right, well, I am gonna start. So, hello, I'm Sean. You're actually, that's gonna be said in a second anyway. I am the advisor of ELT. This is our club officer orientation / workshop. This event allows for new officers that do not know anything about like how to actually manage and run their club and give some kind of basic tools. And then for returning officers, it gives them kind of like a little refresher on you know what all the functionality of where certain things are located. And then we kind of dig a little bit deeper on a couple of the features like the budgeting that we'll be talking about in a second, so that you kind of know like, hey, my club needs money. It's a big thing, right? How do I go about doing that? And I'll kind of do a walkthrough with you, right? So, but yeah, with that, I'm gonna let everyone else take it away and start going.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first officer workshop. Before going forward, I'm gonna introduce all the members of PLT up here. Here is Sean Green, our advisor.
Hey!
Coach Jack Custom, our club development coordinator. And right here, Elijah Moore, our marketing coordinator. So this is our new team of ELT, the executive leadership team right here. So I'm gonna pass the floor to.
That's to be accurate. Yep. So, one of the big differences here about what is an advisor, club advisor versus a student club officer. One, obviously, a student club officer is a student. Club officer, a club advisor is a staff member. Each club needs to have at least one designated staff member to be a actual registered Madison College club. That was all on you guys to figure out and find who your assigned advisor is, right? But there are some differences, and I feel like we do kind of summarize them up pretty good here, right? I want to also make it clear though that every advisor is a little bit different depending on the club. There are some clubs who have a lot of hands-on support by their advisor. And I mean, there's no wrong way to have with what your advisor chooses to do, but somehow very hands-on. While others, right, almost very little support at all, right? And it's all depending on the club. Some clubs really do need that. Some clubs are able to just be able to operate with very little overwatch. But it really depends on your bylaws. Every club is going to have a set of bylaws that just they're governing documents that say how your club is supposed to operate and what each thing role when the meeting times out. But yeah, if you have an advisor, what exactly that role of the advisor is, and that's should be defined in your bylaws. So since everyone did re-registration, you know, it doesn't really get talked about. It should be really communicated more, and it will in the future. But re-registration is a great time to be able to look at your bylaws, say, do they really match the needs of what our club's mission and the goals of what the club is trying to achieve? And do all the positions line up to the bylaws match what the club's needs are, right? So that's where you should make a change. But generally, your bylaws are going to define what your advisor does. But on how we look at the advisor, though, they have access to things that you do not have access to, like being able to figure out how to reserve room locations, for example. They help to be able to sign off, like if you need a request for payment, like if something was, you go and had an event and you need to be able to get your money back, there's a process, but at the very end of that process, they have to sign off on it, so it comes to me, so I have to sign off this. Only your advisor plays a big role in that, right? They do help to preserve the legacy of your club, right? So if your club, we are technical college, 2 years is in generally is the standard here. You could have clubs, we even had clubs this year who were big, had membership, but they just kind of died down as, lost their leaders when they graduated, right? So they help to provide kind of that legacy, that transition information to the next two leaders, right? But kind of like, what do officers do? They're the ones, again, what your bylaws would state, but lead events, lead meetings. Thank you very much for closing the door. I was about to do that, so you're right on top of everybody. I'm liking you already. They're the ones that help to engage. This is all the stuff you're doing, right? This is they help to make sure that things are going. They market, they reach out to potential new students who could be members, right? They get students interested by doing events, right? They do work closely with each other. You have to have at least two. Again, I'm referencing what the minimum requirement is. Some clubs have a lot more officers, but need at least two student officers, right? And you would be working with the other officer or officers, right? And your advisor. And then, really, it's officer specific duties depending on what the club is, but taking notes or doing the minutes of a meeting, the social media, managing the funds, so you can submit budget requests, all that jazz, right? So but they're all very distinct differences, and the biggest takeaway I would say is make sure that your bylaws know exactly what the role of your advisor is, and make sure that your advisor knows that too, right? So there's that. So we're gonna go to the next slide here. Is that me as well? Nope, that is anybody.
Yeah, so the club guides and resources, generally all of them would either be in Student Life or Wolfpack Connect. The examples would be the printed club guides are available in Student Life, usually at the front, but if you don't find them there, they would be in Student Life. And then the updated club guide can be found on the EOT website or the EOT profile page, Wolfpack Connect, and then you will receive important updates via the EOT newsletter written by me in the upcoming months. That's something I've worked on.
All right, moving on to the funding process. All of you in the room, I assume, are club officers. Can I get a show of hands? Who is a club officer in the room? Awesome. You qualify to submit club funding requests. You and your advisors are the only folk in your clubs who can do this. There are three main types of club funding that we can give out. The first is event support. Now, we can give out up to $100 per academic year. So for the 24-25 academic year, each one of your clubs has access to $100 in event support. This can go to things like catering, duplication, or supplies for recruitment, whatever sort of events you're hosting. These funds can go to that. Funding is limited and available on a first come, first served basis. So if we do run out of funding, only likely at the end of the year, if likely at all, then you might not get it. Madison College catering services must be used at all campus located events. So if it's held here, you got to go through catering first. However, stipulation to that, and check the club guide, if you stay under $50, you don't have to go through catering, no matter what your event is. So there's a process later in the presentation that Sean's going to go through. It's a similar process for both creating a budget and requesting payment. This process is the same for all types of funding requests. Second type is travel funding. Each of your clubs has access to $5,000 per academic year. This can be doled out in $300 per student or $5,000 per club, whichever you hit first. Now let's talk about submitting the budget request. We require that you submit the budget request at least 4 weeks before you're planning to travel. This allows myself as the club development coordinator and the Senate Finance Committee to review your request and work out any issues or kinks that are in there so that we can approve your travel and get you your funding. Before departure, each student who is traveling must complete a travel waiver form This is available on Wolfpack Connect. I believe on one of the previous slides, there was, it's gonna be down here. I think it might actually be like right there, kind of covered. But it's right on that first page there. Now, when you get back from your travel, you have to submit a payment request through Wolfpack Connect within 10 business days. Only you club officers or your club advisor can submit that. Lastly, we have membership dues. Once again, submit the budget request through Wolfpack Connect. You'll need to provide proof of payment to a local, state, or national affiliation. Very important, you will also need to provide the names of the students who you are reimbursing and their student ID numbers. Only members of your club who are in Wolfpack Connect will be available, or we will be able to reimburse them only. Clubs with less than 100 members, $25, 25 students. Clubs with 100 members or more, $25, but the number of students goes up to 50. Once that's approved, the funds will be transferred into the club's account, and it is the advisor and treasurer's responsibility to get the individual students paid, provided they paid in. Please hold questions until the end. Now I'm going to pass it off to Sean, who's going to show you that process.
All right, so let's see if I can do this without screwing it up. I'm going to do that. And yeah, so I'm going to just take you through something basic, right? So say you have an event going on and you want to get some funding. And again, like Joliet mentioned, it is a first come, first served basis. So can't sit on screen. I know, I haven't sure yet. Yeah, I know. But say, first come, first served basis. When the funds are there, they're there. When they're gone, they're gone, right? So you have an event coming up and you want to try to get some new membership, you can go ahead and have an event funding request, and hit start sharing on this. Start sharing it and share that. See? All right. So I'm just gonna do it like this, so that makes it a little bit simpler. You log on to on the desktop, on the computer, right? You're on your web view. You're gonna go home. You're gonna log in right away to the home screen. You're gonna go to your group. Obviously, your main groups are gonna be up here if you have them starred off. But if you don't, I always say make sure you favorite your club, right? But yeah, the most recent ones are always on cycle. So Test Group Club is our play around club. It's gonna take you into the main dashboard page, right? So this is where all of the main club management happens. Obviously, I'm playing around right now with some of this stuff. So that's why mine's going to look a little bit different, but you're generally going to have your colored tiles, right? So recently, just like with up here, you're going to have your most used stuff always cycling back up to the first three or so, right? So we want to submit a budget request for an event. Let's see if we can find budget. We click on budget and then create a budget request, right? So I've been playing around. When we had the club advisor lunch just a few weeks ago with this same thing, and I showed them the same kind of concept, right? But we create a budget request. It lays out the same information that you're going to find in the club guide, right? And then type of request. So event support, the title. Yay! Yay! We go through this. Kodiak is really going to love this next piece because it's going to stay in there and he's going to get mad. And then you just follow you follow everything that it's asking of you. So we've already established what type of thing it is. If it follows one of these different things, again, travel, funding, membership dues, make sure that you're selecting the right thing, the amount that you want. What if you have club funds? Now I did just send out your specific balances to every one of your clubs, to your club advisor. And I made it very clear that the idea is that they share it with you guys, but again, as of the ones that deal with the legacy of the club, I just pass it on to them. So if you have money and you have money to spend, you want to offset a little bit of it. Yeah, I'm on finance per group, and then it's gonna say what you need. Like I want $100, right? As much as I can get with event funding, right? So there's nothing that you're on finance, like hit next. And then it's gonna ask me the same thing again. We hit next.
Well, what is that middle, what is the middle section?
What did you say, middle section? What are you talking about?
You passed it, you went on too fast. There's a section in the middle to request something. The amount financed by group.
Yep, that's what I said, that's the amount that if you have club funds
Mhm.
of your own money, right? So in the event of event support, you only have $100, that is the ELT's money, that has nothing to do with this. But the travel funding, yeah, that is, if I want to actually have something offsetted, you can use that, you can use those funds, right? So that's what that's what I'm referring to when I said amount finance per group, and I brought up your budgets, right? Because whatever you have, if you don't have any money in your account and you want to amount finance by group, you cannot do anything, right? You have to rely solely on ELT and those funding requests, right? But it also depends, again, that's why I was kind of trying to get out of the travel versus the event, because the event is really stuck in one area, but travel, it's like, you may not know if you fully get everything approved, right? This is gonna go to, this information is going to be sent off to the Senate Finance Committee, where there's gonna be me, Representative ELT is gonna be there. It's going to be reviewed. It's going to be looked at, does this meet the needs of what the club guide requirements say? You know, so if you're following everything that's in the club guide, there'd be no reason for us to say no, right? But it depends, like, you know, and then we would decide, hey, do we approve that full amount or not? And if it doesn't get fully approved, that's where the help of having something financed per group actually helps you kind of make that a little bit more manageable, so you can still do what you want, right? But does that make sense, everyone? Does everyone get that? Like they get that? Yeah? Cool, cool.
And we gotta show a thumbs, top, middle.
Man, look at those happy thumbs. I love that. Awesome, awesome. So, the event funding, you know, that's more travel funding. I was referring to event funding. You know, you only get that, you can have up to $100. You know, that's it. And then that's all you get for event funding. So in this instance, we're gonna go and through this and just ask what all this information. Do you need food? It again reminds you about the fact that there are specific things you have to follow using catering, and that if there is money, and again, this maybe for the future, this file list should be a little bit more dynamic, right? In a sense, because it talks about your club activity account number, which is where your club funds are coming from. And that really is something that travel, again, is a travel funding thing, and membership dues really is. So, you know, in the future, this is gonna grow and get a little bit better. And I'm gonna bring up to you in the end, but, you know, so like, yeah, we want catering, we wanna use, you know, we do wanna use like $45 a catering, you know, or $50 a catering, and then we hit submit and boom, it's gonna go up. Now, I'm not gonna hit submit so that it doesn't go to him, but yes, and then you're going to end up seeing on our side, right, when that stuff gets looked at, to get decided if it's pre-approved, whatnot, that's what we see. So like, hey, we have an event, you know, what is exactly happening? Then when you do the event, you come back for it and you actually want payment, right? That's where you just make a request of a payment request, right? The only time that you do not need to put in a budget request for an item, and you can just do a submit for a payment request, is membership fees, right? Because those mostly used by academic clubs do not, you know what the exact amount is. You know, so you're just basically paying that off, right? You know, each student has a specific amount they have to pay. This is specific though to pre-approval, because if you don't spend the full amount of money, then we're not going to give you the full amount. We're only going to give you what you're needing. But if you think that you might need a big amount, like we just had as an example, we had a club that thought that hey, we want $1,000. It's just happened this year actually. You get $1,000, they ended up only spending $267. So the rest of that money is still available. I mean, they really overshot that, right? But I'd rather they overshot than they were able to use that full amount, right? But that rest of that money can go back into the main fund that all the clubs then can use, right? So we want to be responsible, and that's why this process with the Senate Finance and ELT exists. To make sure that money, your student activity fee money, that every student's paying for, that club, that it helps to give money to the clubs is actually being used responsibly. So, but yeah, so that is the process in a nutshell, really. And in the future, as we go on, I'm gonna be building now, a data, like a knowledge base, right? So it's gonna explain and have walkthroughs, video guides, what's going to do hands-on, so that if you get confused or if you don't know, one, you can always reach out to me or any of the ELT members. But if you want to ever look at that knowledge base, I'll have that created, and then I'll give you the help that you need, right? So, but that is in the future. I don't have that all created out yet. So with that said, anyone have any questions about that walkthrough?
Did you repeat what you said about the membership fees? Did you say they do not need to submit a budget request?
No, they
Okay.
just immediately go and request the payment here,
So just
right?
request-
That's all they have to
Okay.
do. Yeah,
Once you have that number, just submit it,
Okay.
a payment request.
yeah.
Yeah, Nevaeh.
I was just wondering, I thought the budget was like 500, so how did the like club get 1,000?
So 100 was the event funding, right? So, in the example that I gave that happened this year, that was for a travel request. And so again, for a travel request, they could get up to 5,000 or $300 per student. And so they thought that they might need $1,000 for the trip. And if they did use that full $1,000, again, I'm just doing simple math, I would say they have only 4,000 remain that they could use for the club if they ever did another travel request. But in this instance, they came in under and they didn't actually need as much as they were referring to. So yeah, that you were spot on with identifying the difference here of what was being said. And I didn't think to use an example of an event funding request example, but you're right on it for actually identifying the $100 limit for the event funding, right? So good, that was a good catch, right? So cool. Anybody else?
Yeah, earlier you mentioned about student IDs, but do we really need other students' IDs?
I said student activity.
No, Cody, during your slide, you said you need other students' student ID numbers.
For membership.
We need their ID numbers.
We do. It says it on
Is
the slide, yeah.
Is that true? I know it says on the slide, but is that true? I've never collected anyone's ID number last year or this year.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have collected it because if it was, I mean, I do not know, honestly. That's the truth of the answer, but, and I don't want to go through but if it's in the club guide, then it's in the club guide, and then it would have been something that I didn't need to go through that myself at the time. You wouldn't have either because you were just authorizing it. But if it says it needs to happen, then it needs to happen, right? There would be a reason for it, but I don't know off the top of my head, and I don't want to tell you. Don't want to tell something I don't know, right? So, yeah.
For the event funding, we got a number of dollars for budget for club that we're with. It's more than $100. Can we spend that money for the events?
Yeah, you can
as
spend,
well?
yeah.
Then just 100 is the extra over that?
Yeah, so you can have an event that you know that it's gonna cost more than $100, and you want to submit, have $100 of the event funding offset it, you can use that, but other than that, the rest of it's gonna fall on the club or the individual to pay for it. And I think the big thing is we don't want a specific individual to get fronted with that bill, right? So, which is why the event funding request exists as well as the other requests, right?
Kai, to your point, great catch. That must have been the old club guide.
Hmm.
Our slides need to be updated. Thank you.
So there we go. So
I was kind of wondering, like maybe you guys can all answer, but how do you guys decide like what money to give out to like certain clubs? Like, how do you guys decide that?
Well, that is an excellent question, and it is who submits and do they follow the process?
Yeah.
That is
first come, first served.
That is exactly the answer. It is not a judgment statement on do we think the club should or should not. It is not a value statement. It is do you follow the process and do we have the money?
So if you know of an event, right? Even if you don't have an event, like put a request in, right? And after that changes as you like get closer to that event date, right? And you have to modify the request, do that, right? But at least that way you're getting yourself in the queue if there are a lot of requests that come in, right?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm asking so many
No,
questions.
No, it's all right.
I'm just wondering, like, how do you know when there's like no money left over? Like, when's the like, is there like an opening and like a deadline or something?
Well, you can submit requests up to the last week of May, right? Let me rephrase that statement. The last week of May is when all of the requests are going to be actually processed. And so we try to make sure that all those, any requests, like, I know, for example, Taurus, you had an event with the aviation club, and you put in that event because it was gonna be a July 22nd or
Yeah.
something, you know, and so to make sure that that money could be used, putting and actually, you put that request in early, so we could make sure that it could actually go off without there being any issue. So, because the membership, at the end, the membership is, for EOT will not be here, at the end of May. So, yes, I may still be doing things with having it on my end with like work tag transfers, but essentially, yeah, we will not have a full, body to be able to go through and actually make decisions, right? So it's better, that's why, and it's, that I know for a fact is stated in the actual program.
Two, I think another piece of your question is how are we tracking the funds? Right? We have, number one, a spreadsheet, which is also connected to Wolfpack Connect and the budget.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We have multiple kind of redundant systems to ensure that there is no overlap or overdraw.
Also, how are you like getting like the money back that you gave out? And like also like, I had another question, but I forgot.
Are you asking how are we recouping funds? Right, we are funded by SAB and they are funded by the student activity fees that we all pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys talked about this earlier and I just missed it. What is like I know I've talked to you guys already about this, but I think it may be helpful for other clubs as well, like an update on like the storage of club stuff, of club
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, so, yeah, definitely. Right now, we have identified the need that clubs do need storage, right? We have identified that, we want to provide that, and that we are essentially going to use, the lockers. I don't really know where those lockers are located, what portion of lockers, but, essentially, I'm going to be working on that with, somebody else in the student life office to kind of plan out how that's gonna go, so we can get you, all storage as soon as possible. But yes, as I just got into the job, things have been a little bit hectic, and I've been trying to, make sure I can get everything, caught up and get us on track to get other things done, right? But it is on my list, and it's something that it is a reoccurring thing, right? And again, part of that legacy thing, right? You know, if you have somebody that's bought equipment to a club or equipment for a club, right, using club funds, what happens, you know, if everyone leaves, you're gonna have all that stuff left, right? So having a place to be able to store it, again, your bylaw should definitely be stipulating what happens if you guys as a club dissolve, but the club advisor is gonna play a part in helping to make sure all of that's dealt with. But yes, it's a top priority issue of getting you guys club storage. You just have to identify and kind of map out, kind of like a plan here. And then we're gonna pay for all of the, locker, the storage, like the locks themselves, so you guys can all be able to, use them.
And then along with that, so if we have a completely new group basically next year,
Yep.
that like I'm not gonna be a part of. So would we be able to like keep the stuff there over like the summer and stuff? And just like say, hey, here to the new officer team, like, hey, here's the combination or whatever to the
Yep.
lock, you can just grab it.
Yeah, so the idea is because I am now the designated full-time staff member that is in charge of helping to make sure all the clubs, stay on the right track. The idea is that by us paying for the locks, that it is your guys' space to do as you want, but I will have the ability to help continue with that club advisor, to make sure that you guys get into it. So I'm helping to make sure that there's a backup bridge connection. If the club advisor isn't available, I'm gonna be able to be that one to help make sure, but yeah, a big part of this really does rely on communication. And so that's, yeah, we rely on that. Yep.
I have a question, like, if I do like the request for the travel
Mhm.
and I got the money will be like on my card, or
The
do
money
you
will
give me
be,
one card, or how is that?
so if basically the money, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. You're basically gonna have to spend money and then get that money reimbursed back to you by the actual ELT main fund, right? So as Kodiak was saying, you guys all pay student activity fees. And that fee money, among other things, goes to pay for 10 main organizations that get funding every fiscal year. ELT is one of those organizations, and their main goal, mission is to help support the clubs. And that includes making sure that they have funding for some of the things that they want to do, right? So with that though, you basically have to submit a request to say, hey, I need some money. Hey, you need some money? This checks out to what we want for requirements. Okay, we will pre-approve you for this amount. You do your event, you pay for it.
With my card, with my,
Your card, your guys' card, whatever it may be, right? And then you do the event, come back, or go on the travel, come back, and then say, we're back, here's the proof that we did this. And then that's where you submit that payment request, and we go, oh yeah, they definitely went on that. And then we transfer the money out of the EOT fund into your actual club fund using that activity number and the work tag transfers, like I was calling it, right? And then that's how you get reimbursed back on that, right? So in some instances, if it's known ahead of time, enough time in advance, like the travel funding, you gotta submit those requests 4 weeks prior, and again, it states it very clearly in the guide. There might be times where we have a contract with maybe another vendor that we can maybe just send that money directly to them. And that way you're not having to pay upfront on anything. So sometimes if there's enough time, we want to try to do that. We don't want anyone to have to pay upfront. But yes, the intention is you're paying upfront, you want to get the money back, right? Yes.
You mentioned vendor, would that include like hotel? Like if we do a.
Yeah, it depends. I don't want to give you an expectation that's something that that is a definite, but if there was a vendor that we definitely had some sort of connection to be able to send money through, our systems, then yeah, it would be doable, right? But I just don't know if such exists, honestly.
Is there a list of vendors we can access to see who they might be?
I can try to see. I don't, again, I can try to see. No,
Okay.
I won't be wrong. Yeah. So, yeah. If we answer a lot of questions, so I'm gonna continue on.
Can I ask a question online when you get a minute? Sorry.
You may ask a question online.
So I was just kind of, when you're talking here about like the travel funds, event funds, whatever, what's kind of like the limitation to like what you'll approve and deny? Like as like the Student Nursing Association, like I'm sure it would be fine if we're going to like a seminar for like nursing, but like what if we wanted to like take a bus to a water park for like team building? Like where it's kind of the guidelines of what you'll say yes and no to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, well, some of this will end up depending on the group that's gonna review it. But in general, if you're doing something that has to do with travel, right? It would be for professional development or for the needs of what the mission of the club are. So, if you're a water park club and you're like, hey, we're going to a water park, but at the same time, what you just stated though is why I say that it depends on the group that decides, because you mentioned team building, right? If you can make a valid argument towards it being team building, and in my mind at least, team building could tend to fall on the lines of professional development to some degree, right? Like you make that argument in your funding request, and then it's up to them to decide if they believe that is actually meeting the club. Yeah, it depends, but in general, and it again states in the guide, like, professional development. So, if there was a chess tournament, right, or something like that, that would meet the needs of what the club would be, like that totally makes sense, right? It just depends, right? But yeah,
On the specific example that you gave, if you're going as SNA to a water park, it would align more closely, I believe, with the funding guidelines if you were going, in addition to going to the water park for the water park, to observe possibly how medical procedures are implemented in emergency situations at the water park, or going to review their medical facility or something like that, right?
Oh,
'Cause then you're
gotcha.
also, yeah, because as I recall, you're also an academic club, so it would make, I think, ELT and Senate a little more comfortable if there was an element of academics there.
For sure. Yeah, obviously that was like a wild thing to suggest, but I was just to kind of just state the extremes of each, kind of where they draw the line. But yeah, thank you. That helps.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you for your question.
So next, I know that we talked a little bit long about the budget stuff, which to be quite honest is I'd rather have us talking a lot about that than not as much, right? So the incentives, this is another part of the funds that ELT has specifically towards trying to help promote active club management, using Wolfpack Connect and just demonstrating good active engagement with students, right? So make quite clearly, in the club guide, there are certain things that you have to do, like host an event in Wolfpack Connect, so that like today, you saw the event in Wolfpack Connect. If I was a club, that would be checking it off the list. You get points for that, or checking somebody in. You scanning one of those things that does that, right? You look at the club guide, there is 1, 2, and 3 stars, which basically take it all the way up to that third level. You only do the first and second in the fall, and then the third, only in the spring. But you get up to $300 in the fall. No, you get $300 up in the fall, and then if you do it again in the spring, you get 300, another 300, and then it doubles, and you get up to $900 a year. So you could end up with $900, and then if you do things like $50 going, if you have an event at Goodman South, that's another $50. If you are an officer and you get the leadership certificate, that's an additional $25 that gets added on. And so, yeah, you're just basically doing basic club management. I kid you not. And if you're making sure to do, like today, for example, at the end of this, you're going to see there's going to be a QR code. It's also going to be sent out to everyone, but it's the officer orientation quiz. You fill that out, right? And that is counting towards the incentive program, right? So today, for example, each club needs to do it twice, right? So they have to fill it out twice because at minimum, like I said, there's 2 officers, do it 2 times, and that fulfills the requirement for that, right? So you can gain some serious money, and I'll be honest with you, I would love to see all this money gone. Like, I think it would be an awesome thing. We could say, hey, it's all been spent. Everyone got 3 stars, right? And so only 5 clubs were end up getting $900 last spring. Let's say, well, I
can't remember.
yeah,
Sorry.
right. I mean, it was Business Professionals of America was one of them.
Oh,
So-
thank you.
So, but what I'm trying to say is that is money that is designated for clubs to be active, right? And if you're doing this stuff, just make sure that you get documented because the automation in Wolfpack Connect will be like a logging of it. And when I do the audit at the end of each semester, I want to be able to give out money, right? And so I can't give out money if if it's not done. So just check the club guide, check with me, check with us, the officers. If you have like, hey, I think I did this. Did I do this? Well, I'll make sure that I'll make sure that we send receipts off to Charlotte. Yeah, we got documented. Let's get you that money, right? So it's pretty awesome. I mean, it is pretty awesome. And so I'm gonna let I think Eldro, you talk next about this.
All right, thank you, Sean. So we know this is a lot of information, and sometimes it might be confusing. Might have any other question later. So what ELT did here is the club liaison is like a resource that we kind of figure out for all the clubs here. In case you guys have any other question later, every one of us here has been assigned one club. a couple of clubs. You might be receiving emails, maybe you already received from one of us. So it's actually in the sense of helping you guys reach out if you have any question about fundings, about payment requests, or if you didn't understand something in the club guide. So we kind of report it so you can have access to pretty easily and quickly. And also it's for you to get more like curated and focused, kind of know what your missions are for your students, get students involved if you have an event. So that's what Club Liaison is. We started last year, so we're still working on that to get it perfect. So feel free to reach out at your Club Liaison guy. Once you receive the emails, just feel comfortable asking if you have any questions. So thank you. Next slide.
All right, awesome. And then pretty self-explanatory. You guys have been doing great with questions. So if you guys have any other like general inquiries, make sure to come stop by room B1260. That's just the student life room. And ask us any questions within these times and days. And then we also have these on flyers on your table and on here. You guys can also take a photo if that's easier too. I'll leave it up for a couple seconds. And then, yeah.
Gonna wait until
You guys
everyone's
got
taking
your
the
guys' data?
picture. Can I get
Thank you.
thumbs? I've been taking the pictures.
Let's see them thumbs one more time.
Wait, love it.
And then very quickly, Sean, on Mondays, he's at the Goodman South campus. What are your,
Till close on, so about around 2 o'clock, so 11 to 2, 22 times, but yeah.
Awesome. We here at DLT are not the only resource for you in student life. Obviously, we are a resource. However, the club guide is a resource as well, and your club liaisons, which all of us are. In addition to us, we have Clarion Media, whose advisor is Doug Kirkberg, and the Intercultural Exchange with Linda Lee. All members of Student Life are here to help you as well. Just note that you are student club officers, and we are here to help.
But, as Halloween is coming up, we have an event. We have a couple of events coming up, which among them we have Family Spectacular. This is organized by PTK. Feel free to sign up using the QR code. We don't have the date there, but it's Saturday, October the 26th. Sign up is open to anybody, even right?
Yeah, boo.
Even anybody out of come with
Yeah.
come with children and family enjoy spectacular. Also, another event that we don't have on the slide is movie paint party organized by PAC, the program activities and concert. It's October the 30th. So come with, let's watch this movie together, enjoy Halloween. All right, the next slide.
Yeah, I'm just gonna quickly say it, like I already said, you'll get this second at the end of the event, but scan it as well, have more submissions than that.
Oh, that's the quiz?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And any generalized questions, please email clubs@madisoncollege.edu. And if any of your membership has any questions, direct them here. If you don't want to direct them to your liaison, but also direct them to your liaison.
And before we let all of you go, I forgot to mention, we still have open position on Handshake. If anybody's interested in joining this amazing team.
Yeah.
Goodman South coordinator.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for coming.
Please, we have pizza.
A lot of it.
Should I eat pizza?
Yeah,
It's all empty. Empty?
Yeah.
Almost all. Every single one?
Do we,
Oh.
like,
Can we also get, there's some sauce in it. Can we also get like, is there a reason why?
If for some reason they
don't come on mail?
Because we
Oh,
will have.
I would be down there and then get my.
Obviously, in the registration, you can always go back and say, well, you're here, so why did you? It's not gonna make you a.
No.